It's real quick. Money. Most people, I used to ask how much money you have, but I don't anymore because it's nobody's business but yours. But just remember the startup choices. You have really two choices. Go into debt or not go into debt. Now, when you go on that Facebook page, you're going to meet people who've spent 70 grand because they want granite countertops and a curvy thing and a digital menu board and, chairs and tables that match. If you want to do it, that's fine. Like I said, I don't care. I wanted to know that the day after I opened up, when that guy handed me $2 and then they handed me $12, I wanted to know that that was my money and that everybody who came in was paying me money for ice cream that I can have. It's my money. Now I can afford anything for the store, but I don't. Do I have a walk-in freezer? No. Do I have a blast freezer? No. Do I have two machines? No. It's just, this is the way it is. We do just fine. You'll do just fine. If you trust yourself and me, you'll do fine without incurring a lot of debt. Every month, figuring 30 days in a month, there's a day, all businesses have this formula. There's a day of that month when you start making profit. That means it could be the 10th of the month, it could be the 21st of the month, but one of those days every month is when your employees have been paid, your electric, your rent, anything else you owe has been paid, and then you're working on profit. And the smaller those days are at the end of the month, the more you're susceptible to outside elements. Weather, you get a hurricane, even if you get a rainy day, it's going to affect your sales. And if that's one of your profit days, there goes a good chunk of money. So just remember, the more you owe, the less you make. The more you owe, the less you make. So you can get in this business for $5,000 if you want to buy a used machine or lease a machine and proceed with everything else. I say $15,000 is the number. That's the minimum to get into, 13 really, to get into business and make a profit. And as I said, if you want to incur debt and charge things, how many of you sitting here right now have a charge card in your wallet? Obviously, you all do. You do. You all do. Now, do you owe money on that card? I don't. I refuse to owe money on a card. First of all, the interest rates are absurd. But if you have a credit card and you don't pay it off at the end of the month, you're looking at 18 to 22%. And they don't want to hear it. You can't tell them, oh, it rained that day, oh, my daughter, oh, I have the car. They don't want to hear any of that. It's as sure as whatever that you got to pay it. So, granite countertops, yeah. A 4x8 sheet of plywood, that works too, doesn't it? I don't suffer. If I did, I would get a new countertop or whatever. I can afford anything now, but everything's fine. So I'm not cheap by any means, but I am frugal. I don't like to throw it around where I don't have to. When you see the back room in this place, you'll all laugh. It's archaic. When you see our inventory control, you'll laugh. But hey, it all works. It's very simple, it all works. The first thing people do after they take this class and they set up their store, they buy a POS system. You know what a POS system, point of sale? So that whenever they hit the register, they know it's coming off of the inventory and they get sheets and reports. And then they have programs for accounting and bookkeeping. My program is a notebook, an old-fashioned notebook. Each page is 1 month, sitting right at the register because Mondays are deposit day. So before you got here, I added up last week and I put it in the book and we'll make a deposit today. And that's it. You can get a POS system. You can get, there's no end to it. My friend Evan put in a digital menu board so that he doesn't have to make up a new sign. He can just do this and change the flavors. It's nice, but it's $3,500. I don't want to do that. Okay, so the money, nobody has unlimited money. If you did, you wouldn't be sitting here. But 13 is a good number. I've worked it out. You can get all the equipment you need, and you can open your doors. Imagine what other business is like that. And then if you open on a Tuesday, Wednesday, you made money. That ain't bad. The time. A lot of people who take this class are part-time. I find that hard to do. If you're a baker and you want to do this part-time, I think you're shortchanging yourself. Remember, no plan B. When you stand at the end of the pool, what do? Jump in. Or walk away, right? Part-time, what would that be? I don't know. Sitting at the edge, dipping your feet in? Not going to do it. So, listen, I'm telling you, you do it this way, it'll work. Do you see Macy's next door to me or car dealers down the road? No, I'm in the middle of nowhere. And we do it. Okay, so now the big one, location. This is where we're going to spend a little time because this is important. It's so simple, and there's such a secret to this, but it's vital. Now, I used to say location doesn't matter, and I still believe that. If you look where I am, yes, location doesn't matter. I'm nowhere. At night, if you stay here at night, you can't see that road from here. It's just pitch black. There's nothing here. No stores are open when I'm open. There's a realtor, they're closed. A consignment shop, they're closed. And over here is the Subway place. That's it here. And so when I open up, the girls get here at 5. When we open at 6, everyone is gone. So there's no foot traffic here. To become a customer here, you have to get off the couch. Henry, let's go get some ice cream. You got to get dressed. You got to go get the car. You got to drive here. You got to park the car. And most nights parking the car here is a challenge. And then you got to come in here and battle the crowds to wait online for ice cream. So it doesn't come easy, but they do it. All right, so location. How do you find the location? Well, okay, let's go in order. Sharing a place. I thought about that, and it's viable. But if you can open your own place for such a limited amount of money, why not do that? You can share with a bakery, you can share with a pizza place, you can share with anything, but why give them money? You can open your own place. The other thing is wholesale. We talked about wholesale. You're relinquishing your total product to people who don't care. All they care about is money. And your product is now in their hands. I didn't like it. I didn't like it when I thought it would work. But Steve said, do it. So I did it. He was the guy. Now I'm the guy, and I say, don't do it. Wholesale stinks. In the beginning, if you want to go wholesale much later on, that's a choice you have to make. But, it's your product, it's your baby. You want to give it to somebody to raise? I don't think so.
Are there any special labeling requirements?
Oh boy, a ton. Well, not with wholesale, it's up to them. But they're going to ask you, here's the deal on labeling. If you sell it in your store for consumption here or in their house, no labels required. No nutritional label, no information label, no ingredients label is required. If you sell it for consumption outside the store, it's a fine line. If you sell it for them to buy it and leave with it, not eat it here, then you do have to have labeling on it. Now, you have to have ingredients and nutrition. And that costs a bit of a penny to get those done. So wholesale is wholesale. It's, at least in the beginning, do your own thing. You have control. You know what the product is going to look like, taste like, and you made it, and sell it to the people who can eat it. You know, when you do wholesale, you get no feedback. The restaurant owner may say, oh, great, everybody loves it, but not like here. You get great feedback here, really good feedback. You can also, you can do a truck. Did anybody see the movie Chef?
Oh, yes.
Chef. Very cool movie. These guys, they make tacos in a truck. They outfit a truck, and they travel across the country selling their tacos, and they're smart. They do advanced buildup. Before they hit a city or town, they call up that radio station, tell them the truck is good. So they do good marketing there. It's just a cute movie. It'll just show you that being thoughtful and determined will get it done. Now a cart, you've seen them at fairs and festivals. That was my original idea, to do that caramel corn at fairs. Not because it's a great money maker, because I thought, wow, what a cool life. You know, you go to these fairs and art shows and all these things, and you sell some kettle corn and you have a good weekend. Oh boy, that's a tough one. Now in the beginning of this class, somebody from Northern Ohio came, and he wanted a cart business. And so we talked about the cart, you know, those carts. And he was selling ice cream as opposed to ices in a cart. And we talked about it, and we went on eBay. We found him a cart to start with. And today he's got 12 carts, and they're out every weekend in Northern Ohio, and he's doing really good. That's in addition to what they steal from him. Good cart business, easy to steal.
Do you have to have, you have a main location when you have a cart business? Or
Well, he has a storage shed, not a storage shed, you know, those warehouses.
Okay.
And he makes it there, and he has one next door with his carts, one where he makes it, and his office where he counts the money. And then every Saturday, he sends out his crew of 12 people to different places. They're all on trailers, and they go there. He uses the plate method, which is in the cart, he has these frozen plates that keep the stuff cold. It works for him. And he sends them out, and then they all come back and hand him cash, minus what they've stolen, and he does really well. By the way, everybody steals. That's all I'm going to say. Friends steal, family steals, employees steal. Everybody steals. You can put cameras up, you can have systems, doesn't matter. They're smarter than we are. Everybody steals. The question is, how much? From me, they steal, okay, they need it, I don't, and they don't steal too much. So I'm okay. You'll each make that decision. Don't think that a camera is going to stop them from stealing, or a POS system is going to stop them from stealing. Nothing will stop them from stealing. Friends, family, employees, right? They all steal. Start with a store. It's the simplest, basic, most profitable thing to do. A truck, by the way, an enormous amount of permits and licenses and fees connected to it. And you can't make it anywhere. You have to make it in an approved facility. So you might as well make it in your store. And if you're going to make it in your store, sell it in your store. It's very easy to get customers. You'll have more than your share of customers. Square footage, how many square feet? I started with 80 square feet. That's absurd. Optimum, I like 1,200. That's a great number. You can do a lot with 1,200 square feet. 800 square feet's okay, 1,000's okay. 1,200 to me is what I would look for. coincidentally, most of the bays in Florida, a lot of you from Florida, most of the bays, which are the units in centers, are 1,200, which works out great.
How much of that is kitchen, the prep space? as
Well, that's what
opposed to-
you decide.
Yeah.
My kitchen is 8 by 10, not even. 7 by 10. Not even, 7 by 8. That's my kitchen. My kitchen's right there. That's it.
That's your kitchen?
That's it.
Oh, wow.
All the ice cream's made right there. It's a beautiful thing. Everybody thinks, oh, I need a big kitchen. Oh, I better have a separate kitchen, a nice big kitchen. I love a big kitchen. What do you need it for? All you're doing in the kitchen is one thing, making ice cream. That's it. And to make ice cream, you need 3 things. 4. No, 3. You need a machine, you need a 3-bay sink, and you need a freezer. That's it. And I've got 1, 2, 3 freezers in the kitchen, the machine, and a big 3-bay sink.
And where do you store your dairy mix? Don't you have a lot of dairy mix on hand?
Right there. See that refrigerator, the
Oh,
double-door
okay.
refrigerator? See it's stacked with boxes?
Yeah.
I stack it with boxes. I get delivery on Friday. And the week before the class, I order double.
Okay.
So you guys can work your little fingers off and make ice cream that I'm going to sell and make money from.
And all your ingredients are in there too?
What?
Like your ingredients that you, like fruit or whatever?
Ingredients? No, the ingredients are in the back. I'll show you the back. But don't laugh, okay? So square footage, I'm going to tell you this. Here's a true story. About my 3rd or 4th class, a couple came in. They flew in from California. When they walked in, you notice how I checked everybody off? Well, I do that. When I checked them off, they're a nice-looking young couple, and they had a roll of paper underneath his arm, the guy did. And I didn't say anything, and the class started, and we did the where you from, who are you, and they're from California. And then I used to ask how much money you have to do this, because I wanted to know what page we're on. And when I got to them, this is a true story, and he can verify it because we still know him. I said, so how much you have for the business? And he said, well, we have 2.2, but I don't think it's going to work. $2.2 million. And I said, how many square feet? He said, well, we have 400 square feet. And the place was costing him $2.2 million. His rent, $24,000 a month. So where were they?
Los Angeles.
Catalina Island,
Oh, yeah.
off California.
Oh, yeah.
There's a boardwalk, runs the length of it, and they're at the pinnacle. They're at the triangle of it. And they had 400 square feet, but 200 upstairs, 200 downstairs.
Oh, wow.
And that's what he did. He brought the blueprints for it. And after class, we sat around, and I suggested to him, put everything upstairs. It's going to cost you more to get it up there, but put your kitchen and everything upstairs because you want to maximize the downstairs for sales. He's got 2 windows, and it's 200 square feet, so I suggested a dumbwaiter. 1 small freezer downstairs and dumbwaiter, so that the person upstairs can just shoot down anything you need. And that's what he's got. And this is, 7 years later, he's still there in Catalina. I've never been to Catalina, but they write songs about it. So square footage, there's a guy with 400 square feet, but you know what his foot traffic is? His foot traffic is 10,000 people a day. That's some kind of foot traffic, isn't it? On average. I mean, there are some seasons that are better, but he said he averages 10,000 people a day walking by his store. So you got to figure, 1% of that, he's doing real good. This is interesting about a location. How do you find a location? Like I said, I used to go to everybody's city, and they'd pick me up at the airport, and I would say, let's find the location now before we even go home or to the hotel. And it's so simple. Here's how to find a location at your price and at your square footage. if everybody had a choice in all of your towns, you would go to the real nice shopping center, probably where there's a Publix in Florida, and want to be right next door, and that's where I want to open up. I mean, hell, that's a great place. Publix, clean as a whistle, a lot of traffic, everything's great. What's the problem?
You're buying ice cream in Publix.
No, the problem is the money. To rent next door to Publix, you're going to pay $5,500 a month. That's why the stores in those centers can't sell any low-ticket items. They go out of business. So you can't, there's a Publix center right up here. That's where I just sent Rose to get our lunch to Publix. Of course I wanted to open up there. What did I know? Hey, Publix, that's a big center. Look at the traffic in here. The parking lot is jammed all day long. And it's jammed with soccer moms. You know, that's your customer. But I realized right away, I'm not spending $5,500 a month. I'll go out of business. I won't be able to survive. So then I thought about it. I used to live in Fort Lauderdale, and I opened up a photography studio because that was my business. And I realized then how to find the place. Have you ever driven around and like Publix is up here. Now Publix isn't going out of business. For those of you who don't live in Florida, Publix is a higher end supermarket. Big, clean, avocados are $2. Very, very nice place. But Publix has competition. What's their competition? Winn-Dixie, right? What is it? Walmart. Walmart, Winn-Dixie,
Aldi.
Hmm?
Aldi in a way.
Aldi, well, Aldi, yeah. But for a regular supermarket, their competition is Winn-Dixie. Just like up in New York, you had Bohack and you had the other one. You always have that, right? So here's the thing. If this is the town where you want to open up, it's probably the town where you live. You may live here and you want to open here, whatever. But if you have your town and you're looking for a place to open up, go to the best place you can. Go find the nicest shopping center, Publix probably, with a movie theater, maybe 2 Italian restaurants. Oh, how can you miss? So let's say that's here. That's the best place you could open up. Now you're not going to do it because it's too expensive. The rent will kill you. If you look at $5,000 a month, that's $60,000 a year. You're selling a $5 ice cream. You figure it out. It's very hard. What I'm looking for a month is $1,200. Impossible, you say, right? But no. Here's how to find it. Here's the big Publix center where all the Lexuses and Mercedes and nice SUVs shop, and it's really the nice place. Now, you don't want to open up in a crap place because, remember, you want to be happy. You want to have fun. However, what you do is go to this place where the rent is $5,000 or $4,000 or $3,500, whatever it is, and then drive around. Keep driving around until you find this. And don't worry about what the place looks like or anything, but you know that eventually you're going to be able to find this rent. Just drive around like this and call the signs you see in the window. You do it from your car. How much is the rent? I'm interested in the store. And keep going, because if this is $5,000, this will be $4,000, this will be $3,000, this will be $2,000, and eventually you're going to find your number. When you find your number, let's say your number is over here. You finally found the place where the rent is $1,200 or $1,500 because we can negotiate. That's the number. Now you look at the place and you say, I don't want to open up there. That's awful. It's right next to the projects. That place sucks. I don't want to go there every day. That's fine. Think about it, but drive around here. This becomes this. This becomes your circle of affordable. Affordable. So now you can go around here and know that you're going to be in the ballpark. What do you look for? Look, here's the key. This is gold. Look for shopping centers that have gone out or turned to seed. If you think about it, 10, 12, 15 years ago, a guy had a brilliant thought. Hey, let's build a shopping center here. This is going to work. We're near a main drag. You got Publix two lights down. We'll get the overflow. Let's put a shopping center in here. We'll have an anchor, and we'll have all the stores next to it. You know what they look like. And you've also seen them when they're turned to seed. Maybe a dollar store moved in, maybe a nail salon, because those guys are pretty sharp, the nail people. They know the work ethic. But anyway, those people had the idea to open a shopping center, to build a shopping center there. They put millions of dollars into it because they thought this is going to work. They did their research, they know what they're doing, and they thought it's going to work. Now, it didn't for any number of reasons, but it doesn't matter. The shopping center's there, and the stores are there to be had. And if you find it in an area here with a nice shopping center, it's going to be on a main road because they did their homework. They know what they're opening. They want to open up, and you'll see it. There's tons of them. I can find you them within 5 miles. They have a big anchor, which they thought would be a great Publix or Winn-Dixie or Home Depot or whatever, and then they have all the stores next to them, plenty of parking, and a marquee out front. That's a typical shopping center. The ones that went to seed are your gold. The guy did it and thought, we're going to make a lot of money. I build shopping centers. I've done my research. I know the people who live here. I know the foot traffic. I know the car traffic. This is my target for the anchor. This is my target for the other stores. But his plans went to crap. For whatever reason, he ran out of funding. Nobody decided to go there because Publix is 2 lights away. Whatever. But he invested the money. So now you have a shopping center that looks like that with an anchor here and all these little stores. And plenty of parking. Plenty of parking. And lights. I mean, it's all set up. And if Publix would move in here, it would be a booming center. But they're not. So you can. Now you have a choice when you see these centers. Ooh, do I want an end unit? Do I want to be near a future anchor? Do I want to face north? Do I want an east-west? By the way, just make a note of this. You don't want east-west. You want north-south. The sunlight coming in the first day is going to kill you. So just remember, you always want a north-south exposure, even in a house that you buy. I won't buy a house with an east-west exposure because I'm smart. So this is what you want, a shopping center that's turned to seed. It's really perfect. You know, the guy in New Smyrna did that when he wanted to build on the main strip, and the rent was, it was a nice place, but it was all businesses around there, and he said, they'll all come here. And I said, yeah, they'll all come there till 5 o'clock when they go home. Then you're left with nothing. So I convinced them to move to the beach. New Smyrna Beach, where do you want to be? At the beach. But his shopping center was one of those, because he listened to me, and the anchor is Family Dollar. I mean, that's a pretty crummy anchor, but it's okay, because he's selling $5 ice creams. So he's doing okay. But the bays in these places are usually 1,000 to 1,200 square feet. They're perfect. It's just what you want. It's just what you want. If you're in a coastal town where this is the ocean here and this is the main drag, you're not going to find much of that. You'll find independents, but you're going to pay for them. They're a lot of money. When I'm looking in Daytona Beach, this is what I'm looking for. On the beach side, well, not the beach side, but on A1A. And they're there. They're there. They're everywhere. Every city in the country's got these defunct shopping centers. That's what I would do. I'd go there, I'd find one. First I'd go to where I want to open up, and I would keep driving with my phone and pull over every time you see a sign on a store and you call them, how much is it? Well, let me show you the place. Just tell me how much it is. And you'll see, because if this is 5, this isn't going to be 1. You know, he knows better than that. But this will be. And as soon as you find one, drive around and see what you see. And adjust your expectations. You know, you're not going to be selling right away, you know, in a place that you envision with granite countertops. And I mean, you can do that. You can plunk down your money here and outfit it for 60 grand, and it'll look gorgeous. White, black and white tiled floors, beautiful lighting, whatever you want. But you don't have to. And I would rather start making money. And you'd be surprised how your attitude changes after 6 months of making money. You're not so eager to throw it away on granite countertops. You know, you'd rather have the money. You'd rather take a cruise that summer with your wife or your husband. So this is how I find, and this is what I did. As soon as people picked me up at the airport, I said, show me the nicest place in town. The best shopping center where the most people go, the highest end, great cars, and that's what we would find. And they would get their whole, really, this is how we're going to, no. Now let's keep driving, and it's so simple to do. You just drive like this, in concentric, whatever they call it, and go until you find one. When you find one, then start looking for a shopping center that's pretty vacant or pretty run down. It's great. When you were young, wasn't there a place on maybe the bad side of town, maybe an Italian restaurant that always packed them in? It was a great place to go, but it wasn't in a great area. But it was great because the food was great, service was great, the price was unbelievable, and that was a treat when we were growing up, to go to that place, Ricardo's. And it was great. Can we go to Ricardo's? Well, not, maybe next week. But when we went to Ricardo's, it was in a crummy area, but the place was packed. That's what I like. I like a crummy area and the place to be packed. That's what I'm in, a crummy area, the place is packed. I like it. But you're making money. And this is your target, $1,200. Why $1,200? Well, just remember, it's going to go up every year or every so often.
You pay for it in one night.
Yeah, you pay for it in one night. Oh, is that nice? Is that nice? I didn't originally. But of course, my rent wasn't $1,200 originally, it was $400, and then $800, and then $1,000, and then $1,200. But $1,200 is affordable. Don't forget, how much is the product we're selling? It's $5. You need a lot of people to cover that. How many customers is $1,200? 6,000 customers? No, 600 customers. 600? Is that right? I don't know. I can't do math.
No, it's 200.
200 customers. 200 customers pays for your rent. Now, don't forget, it doesn't really, because you have costs involved in that. $6 isn't 100% profit, but it's damn near 65% profit. That's pretty good. So 15 to 300 people, and you got your rent covered. Well, that's a couple of nights. How about your electric? A couple of more nights? You can see where if you keep your costs under control, 1 week out of the month is to pay everything, 3 weeks out of the month is to pay you. Not bad. Not bad, huh?
How many people did you have in the beginning? Instead of like sir and stuff?
Well, in the beginning I had 2, and I went home with $14. But in the beginning, too bad Rose isn't here. I remember one night, it was within about 10 days, that I had $50 in sales. And I went home and $50. And it fluttered down and I said, this is great. This isn't even like work, $50. But everything was relative. When I had that space, when I had the counter is when it really started happening. I would make the ice cream back there and have a chest freezer behind the counter, a little counter 7 feet from the door. And that's when I was making a couple $100 every few days. But it didn't take long, because then I took the kitchen, what's now the kitchen, I took that area, and then we started doing well because I isolated myself from the gym. When I had this whole store over there, that whole, I don't know, 1,600 square feet or whatever it is, 1,800, then we were doing, well, it took 6 years to make $1 million.
But how many people did you have working?
Working?
Yeah.
One.
One.
Yeah, Loretta. She was the one who was here before. In the beginning, it'll be you working, unless you're me. You don't want to do that. But in the beginning, it'll be you working, you coming in making ice cream, you serving it, you mopping the floors at night. Why pay someone else? And I got to tell you, mopping the floors, I don't care. I don't care. I'll do it. Washing dishes, I still don't use my dishwasher at home or at the beach because I love washing dishes. I just love it. I love hot soapy water. I love knowing that they're squeaky clean and hanging them up to dry. But employees, Loretta was the first employee. She's still here too. I treat them really well. I'll show you how to do that too. She was the first employee, and she's been here probably 9 years. I went 1 year doing it myself. And then I realized I got to get out of the kitchen. I'm no good. But she's been here the longest. And I pay her very well now. You want to know what I pay her, right? I pay Loretta, she's here 6 nights from 5 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And I pay her $400 a week tax-free. Not tax-free, but I pay her taxes. The other people I pay $50 a night. And the karaoke guy gets $150 a night. Crazy. I used to do the karaoke, but I got to tell you, me there is nothing compared to me on the microphone. Forget about that. That didn't take long before I realized the crowds were getting smaller and smaller on my karaoke nights. So any questions on finding a place? Do you have confidence? Yes, sir.
What about build out costs? Is that associated?
Good question. Good question. What do you want to do? You know, I have people, when you go on the Facebook page, which I'll give you in a minute, you're going to see people who hire architects to design a place for them. And architects are expensive. And then you're going to see build out. Now, if you go my way, if you do this in this area, the landlord will build you out enough that you don't have to pay for it. Because all you need is what we call plain vanilla. A cement floor, which is what this used to be before I put wood down, plastic. It was cement. Now, Bob over in New Smyrna, when I saw this, I loved it. What he did was he had a cement floor. He rolled out blue paint on it, and then he took bombs of white and made splashes all over. Place looks great. And he went and bought surfboards, old surfboards, put them on the wall. I mean, this is what I'm teaching. And he did it. He did everything I told him. Everything. He's open 2 months now, and he's happy as a clam. And he's the employee, which he's just doing everything I told him. And it's just a beautiful thing to see. If we had the time, I would take you all to his place. And you'd see that what he's doing, except for the ATM machine, what he's doing is exactly what you're going to have the ammunition to do. He's doing it. Now, other people know. They hire an architect, then they hire a designer or a decorator. They hire a decorator, and then they go for the granite, and they go for the POS, and they go for blast freezers, and they go for walk-in freezers. And boy, you know how easy it is to spend money? I can do it. You can do it. You can spend money. If money was no object, forget about it. You're going to have, you know, Jackson's ice cream parlor or Swenson's, what they used to look like. That's what you're going to make. Oh, why not? Money don't mean anything, but money does mean something. You're here because what you're doing with your life right now sucks. It may not suck, but it's not what you want to do. You're getting older. Now you're thinking about your family. You're thinking about money, and it's time. It's time. I was a fool. Not a fool. I was unknowledgeable, and I waited till I was 60 to do this. You're younger than that, and you're gonna thank yourself every day when you get into this business. You're gonna have fun every day. You're gonna create every day. You're gonna make money every day. It's a good thing. But your question, yeah, they hired design, build out. There was no build out here. The build out was my friend Jimmy putting up that sheet of, you know where my counter is 4x8, right? Because hey, that's what Home Depot sold in a sheet of plywood, 4x8. So that's my counter, 4x8 sheet of plywood. It's what you want. People aren't going to come in because of a granite countertop. It's just, people will come into your store because of one thing, because you sell ice cream. That's it. It's as sure as the sun's coming up. Ice cream, they're coming in. And do you think they care if you hand it over on a granite counter? You know who cares? You care and your wife cares. Ooh, look, honey. Oh, I can't wait till Beth and Joey come in and see our granite countertops. It's true. I see it all the time. They want to impress themselves, and they want to impress their friends and their family. Oh, wait till Cynthia gets here from school. She'll see what we've done. It's just gorgeous. It looks like an old-time ice cream parlor. You can do anything. You can go any route you want. As far as the build out of the place, how much is going to be your kitchen, where the wall will be, where the bathrooms are set, the landlord will do it. He's got a failing place there. He wants to rent this place. And if you go in there with a good line of BS about how you're going to be the biggest draw he ever saw, he'll help you. In Florida, there's a unique thing. Florida, you can negotiate free rent. What a country. You can negotiate up to 4 months free, telling the landlord, this is what it's going to take for me to build out, and I need 4 months free. Well, in this shopping center, 4 months is nothing. He's been sitting for 10 years with no tenants in there. So he'll give it to you. He'll give it to you. I've never found one that hasn't. By the way, landlords, there's a thing coming up on landlords. If you talk to this guy and he's an asshole, just remember, asshole in, asshole out. He's going to be an asshole for life if he's an asshole day one. So just run. There's plenty of these around. Plenty of these around. As a matter of fact, don't jump at the first one you see, because there'll be others on main roads. They'll be on a main road. In Florida, 441 is a main road. As a matter of fact, it goes all the way up the coast. But 441, tons of these. They're all over the place. So build out, they'll do it. And just don't be extravagant. Just do what you think is going to be enough to make it nice. You have to go there every day, so you want it to be nice. But nice, look at the decorations here. You want to hear the bottom line? The decorations, it's all shit. It's all crap. It's all cheap flea market stuff. But it's a theme, so it works. You can have a theme. Your theme can be country music. It can be NASCAR. It can be opera. It can be sports. It can be Wild West. It doesn't matter. Just make it interesting. Make it cool. Make it someplace that you like. This is what I grew up with, all this stuff. So that's what I have. So that's the story on a vocation. Now tell me, you have any questions?
Can I ask you a question? I do have a question, but not about location. Does anybody complain that you don't have any toppings?
Oh, it was an education process. She asked, does anybody complain that we don't have toppings? In the beginning, people still come in, they want a sundae, But in the beginning, yes, we did encounter some people who said, what do you mean, no toppings? And we have no toppings. Why don't we have toppings, by the way? 2 reasons why we don't have toppings. What?
The ice cream is good on its own.
There you go. Well, that's number one. Number one is, if you put hot fudge on your beautiful vanilla ice cream, what do you taste?
Fudge.
Yeah, you don't taste the ice cream. You taste the fudge. So I don't want to bastardize the best ice cream in the world, because that's what it is, with crushed pineapples on it. And all that stuff is junk. The toppings, they're junk. Crushed pineapples, crushed cherries, hot fudge, it's all junk. Ice cream. when you take, we're all going to eat a lot of ice cream today. Well, you are anyway. When you taste the ice cream, you're going to be amazed how good it is. I didn't get here by putting out crummy ice cream. This is excellent ice cream. And I'm going out on a limb here because you could all taste it and say, ooh, this is terrible. But you won't. It's great ice cream. I don't even make all of it. I buy some ice cream. Whoa, what's that? I buy some ice cream. Why do I do that? Well, I couldn't keep up. I couldn't keep up. Right now, I make, about 80 gallons twice a week. And that won't do it. We need 300 gallons a week in our store. So in the heavy season, which started in January, I had to find somebody else to make ice cream for me because I couldn't keep up. I guess I could, but I didn't want to. Hey, I want to enjoy myself. We just bought a house at the beach. I want to enjoy myself. So what I did was I was on a quest to find not Hershey's or Blue Bell or Blue Bunny. I wanted ice cream as good as mine. Very hard to find that. So I did a little research, and I found that there's a company in Wisconsin, the dairy state, that makes ice cream. They wouldn't ship it, but they were in Wisconsin, and they made ice cream as good as mine. Almost this close. And so I found out that there's a intermediary who would start bringing it in refrigerated freezer trucks from Wisconsin and distribute it in Florida. And so I hung with the guy until he set it up, and he did. And now he gets it trucked in from Wisconsin and in 3-gallon containers, and he sells it to some people. Not many people know about it, and it's expensive, but I buy it. I buy about, 12 tubs a week, so that's 12, 24, 36 gallons a week. That's what I buy. And I buy 5 flavors, I think, and when you taste it, you'll be surprised. It's very good. I use 10% butterfat as the mix. They use 14. Now, according to Steve, 14 is way too high for a hot state like Florida. But it's not. It's fine. It's very good. You'll taste it. You'll taste it and you'll taste mine. One of the flavors that I buy, my favorite, is in Wisconsin, there's a county. It's Door County, D-O-O-R, and they're famous for their cherries. Big, beautiful red cherries, and they're Door County cherries, and everybody knows about it. And they make Door County cherry ice cream, which is, I call it cherry vanilla. And Rose, what was that place I bought peaches in, Colorado? Yeah. Paradise? Yeah. In Colorado, they're famous for peaches in this one area. Just one area. And, you can buy peaches here in Colorado, but this is where the peaches are in Colorado. So I was out there on a motorcycle once, and I remembered peaches in Colorado. She told me about a place, so I stopped there. And here I am buying, and by the way, they're the kind of peaches you take a bite and it's all the way down here, and they're red and they're beautiful. And here I am stuffing them into my saddlebags because I got to bring them home. I got to bring her home peaches from Colorado. But I did it. I met through the airport and all that. Anyway, so that's the story. So, location, build out. Any questions? If there's one thing you'll learn today, and I see that there's 3 of you who won't learn this, but if there's one thing you learn, it's that when you're making ice cream, you must do one thing: focus. You must focus. As easy as it is to me now, because I've made just under 60,000 gallons of ice cream in my life in 10 years. As easy as it is for me, I still screw up. Last week I screwed up because I wasn't 100% focused on what I'm doing. It's easy not to be. You know, we all have phones in our back pockets, and we all have interests outside of this. And when I work, I have the music blasting because I like music, or I'm reading a book because I read a lot. And if your focus just goes here from here, you're going to screw up. And when you screw up here, it costs you money. The typical thing, you've seen it on the videos, when you're pouring the mix into the machine, what do you have to make sure of? The door is closed. And I can't tell you how many times you're going to do it. I do it. You pour it in, oh, and there it comes shooting out. Now you got to mop up the floor. Your amount is off because a bladder is 10 quarts, and now, oh, is it 8 or 9 quarts? What do I do now? Everything changes, but the worst part is cleaning up. That stuff is awful. I had one bag in my life drop and explode. So the bladder dropped. It dropped because I lost focus. And when it dropped, it exploded. And it was 4 hours to clean up. 4 hours to clean that up because I had to move the refrigerator. To move the refrigerator, I had to move the TV on top of it. It was a whole thing. And then it was a string mop with water and constantly shaking. It was 4 hours. I don't mind the cost. Cost is only $20, but it's the time and the mess. And look, she just wrote down $20. A box of bladders, we're all over the place here. A box of bladders, you get 2 bladders in a box, and the boxes cost you anywhere between $42 and $45. So it's about $20 to $22 a bladder, which is 10 quarts. If you get the 24-quart machine, that happens to be one batch, a bladder, 10 quarts. If you get the 6-quart, you simply get pitchers, which I have here, and you measure out how many? 2.5 quarts, right? Bunch of geniuses here. Right? You see that. If my machine is 10 quarts, and this is a 24-quart machine, a 6-quart machine is 1/4 of that. So it would require 1/4 of all the ingredients, the mix being one of those. Okay? So the location, if you go to the next page, it's rooms. How many rooms? Well, optimally, if you can, have a back room because you're going to have storage. Storage is your biggest problem. It's not your kitchen. My kitchen is 50 square feet, which is nothing. It's a surprise to most, as it was to you, that my kitchen is right there. But you know, it doesn't matter. But storage of what?
Your ice cream in the freezers, ice cream.
Ice cream in the freezers, what else?
Products.
Ingredients? Sure. We give away and we sell t-shirts here. The back room for storage. Now, I don't keep a lot of dry ingredients here because most every Sunday, I go to Restaurant Depot. Well, if you don't have Restaurant Depot, then I'll show you where to get the stuff. You can get it online. And if everybody's familiar with Webstaurant, don't use them. Yeah. The shipping will kill you. The prices are good, but when you add the shipping in, it's cost prohibitive.
Who was that?
What?
Who was that, the shipping?
Webstaurant. It used to be called Web Restaurant Store. Now it's Webstaurant. But they kill you with the shipping. Anyway, so rooms. So try to get a back room. As far as where to make your ice cream and where to sell it, and not important. You're never going to make it during the hours of operation. You can't do it. First of all, the machine is too loud. What do you want? No, you can't do it. Second of all, it's not professional. You know, make it when you're not open. If you're going to be open 1 to 10, which is what I presume most of you will be open, then come in at 9 on the days you make ice cream. Come in at 9, put 2 hours in making ice cream, and then open your store.
And you're making a week's worth? in it
No.
Twice a week?
In the beginning with a small machine?
Yeah.
No. Keep going.
Every day?
Pretty much.
Okay.
Pretty much. But boy, can you tell your customers this ice cream is fresh?
Yeah.
You bet.
And it's less storage.
Now, if you had a blast freezer, this is Steve's big thing. Steve and I get along fine. We're good friends, but we have different opinions. Steve said to me once, you know, with a blast freezer, I can make the ice cream today and sell it tonight. And I thought about it, and I said, you know, with a cheap Sam's Club freezer, I can make the ice cream this morning and sell it tonight. And it's true. Sam's Club freezers will get down to -9. They're $140. A blast freezer is a couple of thousand, probably $6,000. A walk-in freezer, forget about that. You know, now when I first had this store here, there were no walls. And so what I did was I separated areas with shelves. I went and bought shelving at Home Depot, and I because I needed storage. The back room is the last thing I got there. I had that room first, the counter second, the kitchen third, this part fourth, and that was last. And I used to have shelves, whatever shelves I could get that were cheap, stacked with cups and spoons and napkins and whatever I needed. And those are my dividers. I don't mind that. I don't need a sterile, fancy place. Not that there's anything wrong with it. You go into some ice cream parlors, they're gorgeous, they're beautiful, but it's just not what I want to spend my money on. Okay, plumbing. Everybody wants to know about plumbing, because if you're going to get one of those stores, then what do you do about plumbing? Plumbing's easy. Plumbing, the only thing required for plumbing is you need a 3-bay sink, a triple bay sink. The 3 bays in the sink are for washing, rinsing, and sanitizing, supposedly. That works in theory, but not in practice. You also need a hand sink where the employees can wash their hands. And then you need a mop sink to clean your mop and get your water from it. So a 3-bay sink, a mop sink, and a hand sink. That's your plumbing. Now, if you have a choice, when you're looking around, finding a place with a floor drain, yes, get it. I don't have one. A floor drain is good. It's not essential. I don't have one. But it's a nice thing to have. It makes cleaning your machine easier. See, the real world is different from the government world. The government world doesn't make a lot of sense because they don't work here. They don't understand. A mop sink is absurd. It has no bearing on anything. A hand sink is totally ridiculous. The 3-bay sink is all you really need in the world, and truth be told, you don't need that either, but you have to have that. So if there's a choice between a place with a floor drain and no floor drain, get the floor drain. Why is that? Well, when you clean your machine at the end of the run, now my friend Evan does this. He has a 44 and a 24. He's very successful down there. And he just has a hose on the machine. How nice is that? And then it goes down the floor drain. Well, I don't have that luxury. I have to, and you'll say, you'll clean the machine today. Not me. So, plumbing, they'll inspect you for it. The big thing in plumbing is this: if you don't have a floor drain, which I don't, what they're going to say to you is, here's your 3-bay sink, here's your mop sink, and here's your hand sink. And without a floor drain, what they're concerned with a floor drain, if there's a backup in the city or whatever, or down the street, it'll come up through this floor drain and it won't contaminate anything. It'll just come up here and go on your floor and you clean it up. They're concerned with contamination. Another ridiculous thing, a government thing. So without a floor drain, I don't have a floor drain. And they came to me and they said, you don't have a floor drain. I said, very perceptive. I don't have a floor drain. It didn't come with one. In hindsight, I would have taken a fake drain cover thing and just screwed it into the floor because they wouldn't know. You put a piece of black paper under it, they don't know it's not a real drain, but that's another story. So without one of these, what do you do to appease the government bureaucracy? Well, you make what's called an air gap. All plumbers know this. So when you call the plumbing people and you say, listen, I need an air gap, they know what to do. Here's an air gap. All the pipes that come from your hand sink, your mop sink, and your 3-bay sink, they all lead to one pipe that goes into the city. That's what they're concerned with. Here, if the city has a problem, it's going to come up here. Without one, what they do when all your stuff goes down into the ground is they cut the pipe right there. And they cut it right there. So there's a gap. Now, just to enlarge this, here it is coming down, here it is going into the earth, or wherever, the mystery place, the city, whatever it is. What they do here, if there's a problem in the city, it'll back up here, but it won't come into your sink and contaminate, so-called, your stuff. What'll happen is it'll come here, overflow onto your floor, and you can clean it up. So the plumbers come, and they cut the pipe in 2 places, and they put a thing there. And it's still so that it catches all the water from your sinks. And it goes down into there, and you can see it. You can see when you turn on the water, it'll go through your system, and then you'll see it going into the air gap. And that solves their problem. However, so I did it. I called up the company, the plumbing, plenty of plumbers around here, and I said, put an air gap in. And they came and they did it. Took them about a half hour, no big deal. That satisfied the city's problem, but it created one for me. 3 days later, I walk in the store, proud of my new air gap, and I walk in and, whew, it smells bad. Because what we deal with is cream and water, and cream goes bad. So in the pipes and in the drains, because don't forget, cream coats everything all along the way. So now the air gap was providing an odor. I didn't like it. You can't have an odor in your store. I mean, you might as well throw roaches on the floor. So I called the plumbing company and I said, come in here, get rid of the air gap. And they came and they said, you know, if you get rid of the air gap, you're going to have the problem with the people again, the inspectors. So I said, isn't there an option? Yes, there is an option. Do tell, what's the option? The option is called a side gap. Side gap. I said, what's a side gap? Well, we put a pipe on the side of your machine that goes down into there, so that if anything backs up, it will back up to the side gap, and then it'll overflow there. I said, perfect, I'll take it. So they gave me a side gap, and I noticed that when he put this pipe in, it was threaded here. So I said, is there a cover for that? He said, yeah. I said, let me have it. So I put the cover aside. He gave me the cover for that. And don't you know, 3 days later, I walked in and it smelled again. Not as much, but it still smelled because this was open. So I got that cover and I screwed it on. And that was 8 years ago, 9 years ago. So that's the end of the story. Any questions? Yes.
You have to take that off before your inspections?
Nah, they don't look. Let me tell you about inspectors. By the way, great question, because Everybody, when you go on that Facebook page, you're going to hear about people planning. There's one girl planning to open for 2 years already. Well, you know that. It's the deep end of the pool. Let me tell you about inspectors. The inspector who comes to inspect your place, your ice cream store, is the same inspector that inspects Olive Garden, and the same inspector that goes to the Four Seasons Hotel kitchen. They don't understand, they don't know how different ice cream is. Ice cream is a different entity. What they do, here's what the inspectors do. They come in and they open all my freezers and they point their little laser thing and it tells them what the temperature is. Well, that's nothing. Then they walk around and they look for roaches. Well, they're not going to find roaches here. And then they busy themselves because they have nothing else to do. Steve says, oh, you have to sanitize your machine because the inspector, they don't know one machine from the next. They don't know that's an ice cream machine and it's sitting dormant there. What are they going to do? Say, turn it on? I can't turn it on. Got to make ice cream, turn it on. They don't know anything specific. Their book of inspections is this thick, but it doesn't tell them anything. They know if they're going into a Chinese restaurant, look under the sink, there's going to be bugs there. You know that. Look around, look behind my freezers. That's what they tell them. Point that gun into the refrigerators and the freezers. Oh, and he did tell me last year or 2 years ago, I put labels on all my ice cream. When you make the ice cream, you'll see you're going to write labels for it, and you're going to put the name of the ice cream and the date. I wasn't putting the date on my containers because I said, so it doesn't last. You know, we make it today, and in a week it's gone. He said, you got to put the date on it. I said, okay, and I'm glad he did. So now when we make the labels, we put the date on it. But they don't know anything. Not that they're bad people. I get along great with our inspectors. But they just don't know ice cream specific stores. So air gap, they don't know what an air gap is. They have no idea what an air gap is.
Are your employees required to have training through the health department?
What'd you do, get a book of good questions to ask? Employees, now here's another theoretically. Theoretically, the manager, or me, has to take a food manager's course. The employees have to take a food handler's course. Well, nobody checks that. When the inspector comes, he doesn't care who has what. They just don't. I took the course once, maybe 2 years ago. I decided, let me see if I'm good. And it was a food manager's, no, a food, first I took a food handler's course. And that wasn't too bad. I scored okay on that. And then I thought, well, because they give you a nice little thing for your door, so I, well, let me get another one. Let me take the food manager's course. Whole different story. Very hard. It's hard because it's not geared for ice cream. And that'll give you a clue as to what the inspectors are looking for. They're looking for, do you store chicken on top of beef? Do you store food in open containers? Nothing applies to us. What are the lumens of the lights above your prep station? I didn't know what a lumen was. The only thing they asked me is that pertained to ice cream is the temperature of your freezers. That's the only thing that related to ice cream. Everything else was generic. Pork, chicken, fish, eggs, all that stuff. Didn't mean anything. Lights, distance, hours so that you leave stuff frozen. How long do you defrost stuff before you can use it? How long is too long? I didn't know any of that. I passed, but I didn't know any of
So
So
it.
that manager course was required? That manager course was required?
What?
Required. The manager course required.
Well, when you see, here's another thing, required. This is what you'll encounter on the Facebook page. Everybody worries about what's required, what the inspectors, how the inspections. Forget about all of it. Open your store. They'll come to you and they'll tell you what you need to do. And that's the way I think it should be done. Because if you try to do it before that, you'll never get there. There are so many rules and regulations. Amanda?
Does that apply to health department and code enforcement?
Yes,
So ask for forgiveness later for both?
correct. What's that expression? Easier to ask for forgiveness than to get permission? Here's the situation with that. When I opened up, of course, I didn't know anything. I rented the space, I put my stuff in there, nobody knew what I was doing. All of a sudden, I'm an ice cream store. So a few days later, the clipboards come in. And what do? They have their clipboards, and they tell you they're from this department. And I say, okay. And they say, you need a certificate for this. I say, well, how do I get it? Well, you pay me $55. So I write them a check, and they go their merry way. What's that from? Write them a check, and they go their merry way. And then the other people, the inspectors, well, you need a fire extinguisher here and there. I said, okay, I'll go get it. And that's the end of that. And you need, your freezers have to be this temperature, so you adjust them to that temperature. And you need a hand sink for your employees. Go to Home Depot, buy a hand sink. But it's so much easier because they don't know ice cream specific stuff that you're going to have to do. They know generic. When they're in Olive Garden or Macaroni Grill or Hooters, they have those questions. And they think that it's the same thing here. But we're not, in fact, a restaurant. We qualify as a restaurant, but we're not a restaurant. We make ice cream, we sell ice cream. Very simple. So that's what I would tell you to do. Now, I shouldn't say that. One of the people on this Facebook page, they're open maybe, 2 years. They're still battling with the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco about being able to serve adult ice creams. And I told her, I said, just don't worry about it. It's fine. Well, her and her husband couldn't get by that. They had to have assurances that they're doing something legally. So they still don't sell any. 2 years they're open.
Where are they at?
Up north, Massachusetts, New York, something like that.
Do you check IDs?
Yes, yes, and the sign there, we ID.
Oh, okay.
In Florida, it's 21. And we do check. The girls check, Loretta checks all the time. When I check, I can't read the small print there, so I just say, oh, okay. Amanda.
So as far as if we want to do the 3-bay sink, the other hand sink and everything, do you already know what those requirements are, or are there for spacing where they need to be?
There's only one that I'm aware of, and that's that your machine has to be 6 feet from your 3-bay sink.
Okay.
Mine is probably 3. Amanda, it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I grew up in the 60s. In the 60s, in the 50s, if you grew up, yes, sir. Yes, sir. In the 60s, if you grew up, it was, why? Why? We questioned everything that didn't make sense. If something didn't appear logical to me, you question it. Well, why? Why do I have to brush my teeth in the middle of the day? Well, because you get stuff in there. Okay, I buy it, so I do it. Why do I have to wash my hands after I eat? Doesn't make sense. I'll wash them before I eat. There's so many things that don't make sense that we questioned. That's the generation we were. We questioned. So when I opened up a store, I thought about all these things, and most of them didn't make sense. So I questioned them. Even now, when the inspectors come in, sometimes I say, well, how come? And he says, just do it. And really, they don't know. They don't know. If you're going to ask for permission before you do everything, you're going to have a world of problems. They're not going to tell you, you got to move that wall 2 feet over. That wall, you can't have that wall there. They're not going to tell you that.
So have they ever questioned the alcohol in the product?
Never,
Never?
never.
And what would your response be if they did?
That it's an ingredient and we use 2%. We just use a little for flavor.
Okay.
Because it's illogical. You know, I use alcohol because I want them to get a pop. That's the purpose, isn't it? You don't drink because it looks good. And you don't drink because it tastes good. You drink to get a bang. That's what I want for my ice cream. I want them to relax a little. As soon as recreational pot is legal in Florida, it's going to my ice cream.
No, but you don't do CBD.
What?
You don't do CBD.
CBD is illegal in Florida without a prescription.
In the ice cream?
In anything.
Anything.
Yeah, right now.
Right now. But even CBD, that's not what I want. I don't want health benefits on my ice cream. I want you to get high. But as soon as it's legal, if it's legal on Friday, Monday you can buy it here. Because that's terrific. And it will be. It won't be very long. If that lawyer has his way for the people. Who is that? Morgan and Morgan. If Morgan has his way, it'll be legal. But yeah, imagine coming in for ice cream with pot in it. How great will that be?
There'll be a line out the door.
I believe so, if you're the first one, and I will be the first one. Got the pot already, just waiting for it to be legal. I'm ready. Okay, a little bit more and then we'll break for lunch. Electrical, after plumbing is electrical. Electrical, now this is silly. Here, I'll show you the hypocrisy of all this. Walk around here when you're getting coffee, when you're up in the kitchen, when you look around here at this thing here. I've got outlets into plugs, into strip centers, into other outlets, into strip centers. I've got more ganged up on all these outlets than you can believe. The fire inspector comes, doesn't say a word. You know what he says? Your extinguisher needs to be upgraded. That'll be $75. That's what he says. That's what he says. You know what? If you don't do anything bad, if you don't break the law, they leave you alone. Don't forget, your money, you're paying tax in your county and city and state and federal government. If it weren't for us small businesses, this country would go under. It's not the General Motors that drives this country, it's small business. And we are small business. So the municipality wants us. They don't want to upset the apple cart. And it really, look at my outlets. Even the video guy who's doing this looked around and he said, oh, I can't plug in there. I can't plug in there. True. Because they're all, tons of stuff plugged in. But it's nothing that's going to create a problem. I have a lot of lava lamps here. The lava lamps are 25-watt bulbs. So do you think if I stick 13 of them into one, it's going to mean anything? It doesn't. It doesn't mean anything. But yet, according to their code, oh, he's got strips into strips. You can't have that. But they don't say anything. 10 years I'm open. They don't say anything. Just do what makes sense to you. I'm not saying plug a toaster into a hot plate into a freezer. That's, of course, you got to be an idiot to do that. No offense. So electrical, you know what the big thing in electrical is? Fire extinguishers, and how many. They make money on fire extinguisher. Every year they talk about a scam. Every year they come and they take my fire extinguisher, they look at the paper and they say, oh, you need this recertified. And in the beginning, what do you mean recertified? I don't use it. It sits here. He said, you got to recertify it every year. Well, how much is that? $75. So you write them a check and they go on their merry way. Now, he did tell me, he said, you can have one over there too. The rule is 75 feet. Every 75 feet, you need another fire extinguisher. So the darn guy measured from the front door where mine is all the way to the far corner. He says, well, it's 73 feet. So I said, yeah. He said, well, you can have one or you don't have to have one. So I said, all right, give me one, So I bought a fire extinguisher, another $50. So that's the story on electrical. For your machine, you need 220. And understand about 220, 110 is the same plug everywhere. In Missouri, in Florida, in New York, it's the same plug. Not 220. 220s are all different. There's another scam. They could make all the 220s the same. You know how some are this way and then this? Some are this way and this way. They're all different. Why are they different? They could all be the same. 220 is 220. They're different so they can charge you. And they charge you on all different machines. When I had the 6-quart machine, I had them put it in, $75. Then I went to the 24-quart machine and I figured, well, I'll just plug it in again. No, it's a different thing, different receptacle or whatever. Because now instead of this, you got this. It's a scam. But anyway, so it's 220. Your machines are 220. They're all 220. And some are, the only difference is some are air-cooled, some are water-cooled. Ooh, what's that? If you're getting a 6-quart machine, just get an air-cooled one. If you're getting a 24, get a water-cooled one. Now, Steve will tell you, now Steve makes the machines, but he sits in a cubicle all day. He'll tell you that if you get an air-cooled machine, the hot air coming out of the back of the machine will raise your air conditioner 15 degrees in one room and it'll cost you an extra. Nonsense. It's just warm air coming out of a little thing. It doesn't affect anything. Now on a 24-quart machine, I would get a water cooled and I would hook it up to my mop sink. That's just the way it goes. If you want to dedicate it, then call your plumber in and tell him, this is what I thought. When I first had it, I said to the plumber, well, pull a tap here. He said, you want me to pull a line outside, drill through the building and put a tap here so you can have a dedicated line for you? I said, well, that's what Steve said. And he looks at the mop sink and he says, you know, Home Depot sells a coupler, it's $2. And that'll do it. So that's what's there now. You don't need it dedicated because you don't use a mop sink. And if you did, just unscrew it when you use your mop sink and use your mop sink. But you won't use your mop sink. Mop sink it doesn't make any sense. It's like a hand sink. Why do you have to wash your hands in a separate sink over here when you've got this big, beautiful, hot, soapy sink over here with a big faucet? It doesn't make any sense. It's 1965 and you stand there going, why? So that's electrical. Electrical, you don't need much. Just get a fire extinguisher and call it a day. Okay?
Do you have to get it from anywhere particular, or you can buy one that's just...
No, you can buy them at a flea market if you want. The guy has to come and he has to certify it.
Yeah, so...
He has to certify
Paying
it.
him to certify it.
Well, look at that rain. Yes, you're paying him to certify it.
Now, did
You know what he does when he certifies it? He goes like this. Okay. Because he's Captain Kangaroo. He can certify it. Well, you would think that he would take it outside, give it a spray, you know, make, oh, that's definite good foam there. You got a certified machine here. But they don't. They give you the new thing on it, the new tag.
Exit signs,
Exit signs. You need an exit sign.
and how many, what about as far as number of doors relating to number of...
I don't know. I don't have one there because that's not an exit. Probably also illegal. Some nights we have 200 people in here, and I always think if I'm on stage or something or looking around, you see 200 people in here and you yell fire, that door doesn't exist anymore. They're going right through it. But we don't use it. Nobody says anything. It is what it is. You know what you know how you have, what's the capacity, what is it called? What is that called, that sign?
Occupancy.
Occupancy. On this place, 45 people. How can you make a living with 45 people at a time? So we have seats, you know, when I first opened, and I just had that store there, because I'm only open at night, the inspector would have to call me to set up a time. They couldn't spring a visit on me. So he would call me up and I would tell him what time. I would come in early and I'd put tables in the back and chairs in the back. So I only had, because over 15 seats per square feet there, you got to have it, you're in a different category. So I would hide the chairs and tables in the back. And they would come in and they would say, what's in that door there? I said, oh, that's not mine, that's the other guy. And that was it. Then he would leave and I'd bring out the tables and chairs. But it got to a point where I couldn't do that anymore. So we went from, there's two restaurant categories. We went from the simple category, which is like a mom and pop shop. Now I'm in the same category as Macaroni Grill and Hooters and and Four Seasons Hotel. I'm in the same category only because of how many seats I have. But it doesn't matter. The inspectors are the same people. You know, same thing. Same illogic. It is, it's illogical. All right, leases and landlords. I think I said yesterday, an asshole in is an asshole out. And if you got one you even question when you're negotiating or when you're talking to them, just walk the other way. There's plenty of properties. They're all over the place.
And can you always negotiate?
Always.
Okay.
You can always negotiate. I don't know who said it, but everything is negotiable.
In life.
Because if you think about it, if I said to you, come up here and do a faux striptease dance, you wouldn't do it, right?
Right.
But if I said I'll give you $10,000 for 30 seconds time, you would do it.
Maybe not for 10, but I
100 things. Well, that's a good answer because that means that everybody has the line.
Right.
So there is a line for everything. You may not do it for 10, but if I said I'll give you $100,000, you would do it. And that's not anything bad against you. It just shows you that we all have a line. There's a line that we can cross or not cross, depending on who we are, or what the reward would be. And of course, most things in this stupid life are driven by money. But if I said I'll give you this store, just as it is. Here's the keys. Just come up here and do that. That would be an incentive. So everything has a line. So when you're negotiating, when you meet a landlord, understand that there's a line. And in negotiations, you always start further out.
Right.
So where are you?
In Charlotte.
Charlotte. Well, as I said, in Florida, free rent is pretty much expected by the tenants and also by the landlords or the agent or whoever you're dealing with. I start with 4 months free.
While you're getting like set up and stuff, right?
Yeah, because you explain that, hey, it's going to take me a long time. You know, you can either give me 4 months free, or would you do the build out for me? Would you lay tile over there, put some walls up? He's not going to do that. It's easier for him to give you free rent. But know also that all these management companies or landlords, people who own multiple units, they have a handyman. A guy who can do stuff for them. They need it and they have it. And he'll do anything from a little light electrical, light plumbing, to flooring, stuff like that. I negotiated the floor here. I bought the materials, but I negotiated getting his guy to do it. And I took care of him on the side. Everything is negotiable, and what to negotiate? If the guy is a decent guy, now you'll either deal with a guy who owns the place, and he, like I do, he owns multiple buildings, or you'll deal with a management company, or you'll just have to deal with a realtor. Dealing with a realtor is not good because you're so far removed from the decision makers, it's not good. A management company is okay, but when it comes time to signing the lease, the person sitting across from you is probably the contact that you're going to deal with. And what to ask for. Now remember, if they have multiple units, like a shopping center, remember I told you that the ideal place is an old shopping center. Well, one of those places is stuffed with chairs, tables, desks, ceiling fans, bookcases, shelving units, because all the people who left stuff.
and he's got it. And that's a great resource. I got stuff from there. The fans in this ceiling I got, there were no fans in here. And I got the tile in the kitchen, not the flooring. I paid for that. The counter was there. I forget which part of it, but there was only one, and then I had somebody come in and build the second part. But there's always stuff that you can get, and they don't really care about it. It's they didn't pay for it, they're just storing it. So don't neglect to ask for that. Certainly you can get a desk or a chair or a couple of tables or a bookcase or shelving. That's the easy stuff.
Question, do you recommend getting a lawyer to look at both the contractor and?
That's a way. Why pay somebody else? You can read, can't you?
Sure can.
Now understand also with what he said, you're screwed. A lease is totally in their favor and you have no say about it. The air conditioner is your problem. The water is your problem. The outlets are everything's your problem. We had the AC break. I called him up and I said, George, the AC broke. He said, I'd suggest you get it fixed. It's an honest story. That's exactly what happened. And there I was in for it. And I said, but the lease, he said, no. So your lease, a standard lease, you're responsible for everything, which was an eye-opener to me. I didn't understand that. But you learn quickly.
You could ask for repairs.
No, they'll never give you that. No, they you can go to Home Depot, Office Depot and buy a lease and read it. And that's pretty much where you are. And then they'll add more stuff that is not in your favor. Sometimes they'll add cleaning the sidewalk in front of your place. Who knows what they're going to add? But it's all on you. So negotiating a lease, the only thing I've negotiated, I don't know, maybe 5 leases in my life, and the only thing that I was able to get was free rent or some stuff they had in storage. It's not good, but it is the way it is. And of course, you should pay the $75 to $100 to have an air conditioning guy come out before you sign that lease and go through it, because you don't want to open up a place and a week later you're screwed because an air conditioner will cost you $10,000, $12,000.
That's if it's not a rooftop unit.
Yeah.
Here, you probably have just regular units.
So,
Rooftops.
well, whatever it is, you don't want to be stuck for that. It's much better to invest $100 before you do it. Make sure you do that, because it's, the building you're going to get is not brand new. It's an older building.
So if it needs replaced, they pay for it, or?
Well, you sit down and say, I'm not moving in there. The air conditioner's no good. This guy inspected it. So then you have a negotiation.
I mean, what if something happens and it totally needs replaced after the fact? And
It's on you.
That's crazy.
You run a hot ice cream store. That's it.
Wow.
It happened to me. And I had mine inspected, but I had it inspected and then 7 years later it crashed, which, I'm okay with that. Yes, sir. The plumbing, I don't know. I wouldn't be as concerned with the plumbing. What could happen? A broken pipe or something, you would know that. But hey, it's a great thing to have an electrician, a plumber, and an air conditioner guy come in, spend $250, have all 3 come in, go through the place. The landlord will see you're serious, which is a good thing, because you're going to need the key from him to let these guys in. And you might potentially save your life, because in the beginning, if you're hooked with a $10,000, $12,000 air conditioning bill after a month, sayonara. I mean, that's a tough thing. Or electricity. But just don't mistake the fact that you're hiring a surveying person rather than a repair person. And they do it. If you call them up, they'll do it. That's part of their deal. I want you to come and inspect the unit. Now, in the long run, I have my unit twice a year. They come out. They change the filters. I'm supposed to do it more often than that, but I just don't. But they tune it up. They see what the what do you call it, Freon is. They don't use Freon anymore, but they check that. They check the pressure. They check all that stuff. And last time, it cost me $700 and something because I was low on. I have 2 units here, and I was low, and they had to inject. I don't know what they're talking about. I just write a check. But you don't have any choice. So you do it. But the smartest thing you can do is before you sign a lease, have somebody pay somebody to come out and do it. Not a friend, not a handyman. Call a reputable air conditioning guy, and he'll give you a written thing. So if there's a problem, you bring that to the landlord and say, listen, this is going to cost me $1,200. So, add another 3 months rent or whatever. It's a one-way street, unfortunately. But look, I've been here 10 years. I had one mishap with the air conditioner and I had a flood here. But other than that, I'm fine. Both were very costly. But, you're doing okay. You're making money. You're okay. The flood was an interesting landlord situation too. On a Saturday, instead of him there was a golf cart store there where they sold golf carts and stuff. And the guy ran it was Jim. And Saturday morning, I get a call about 10 o'clock from Jim. And I said, Jim, what's up? I'm at home, having coffee, whatever. And he said, dude, you better get here. Your place is flooded. I said, really? He said, yeah, and it's coming into my store. So I quickly got dressed and ran over here. And when I opened those doors there, the water whooshed out. It was 3 inches all over. The whole place was 3 inches underwater. And it whooshed out. And, you walk in and it's water all over the place and you freak. But does freaking do any good? No. What's required? Action. That's right.
So what happened?
And you quickly learn that. So I didn't know anything. I tried to find where it was coming from, but I don't know anything. Could be anywhere. So I called the landlord. And once again, I got the same response. I said, George, the place is underwater here. He said, I'd try to find the source of that. And he's a nice guy. George is a real nice guy. So I went to Google and I said, I need, I described the problem, I need help. So there are companies that do this. The one I found was in Ocala, and it was called 911 Restoration. And I called them up and I said, listen, I got a major problem here. I'm a store. We open at 6 o'clock and the place is flooded. And he only asked one question.
Do you have cash or in the water off?
Do you have insurance? Do you have insurance? And I said, absolutely. He said, we'll be right there. And about 45 minutes later, 2 crews, a truck and a pickup came, and about 8 guys jumped out, and they came in here, and he said to me, he said, I'll get my boys working, you come with me. So we sat down at one of the, I think it was over there, in the water, we sat down, and he has his laptop, and he opens it up, and he says, who's your insurance company? I mean, that's what it is. Because he knows, I'm not going to be on the hook for $40,000. So he starts doing that. Meanwhile, his crew is taking all the furniture out into the parking lot, every single thing out in the parking lot. And then they started squeegeeing the water out, squeegeeing what was left out the doors. And this was carpet, that thin glue down, and they start ripping up the carpet. And they're throwing it in the parking lot. The parking lot looked like a war zone. All the furniture, all the carpet, and his guys are squeegeeing everything out. And I guess they were here, they got here maybe 11 o'clock, and I guess they worked for 2.5 hours or so, because there were a lot of guys. And then from the truck, they brought in these huge fans. You've seen them on construction, and they start putting them all over, and they turn them on, and it sounds like a hurricane in here. But he said you have to do that because of the humidity and the dampness. You got to get it out. So all this is going on, and he's on the laptop, and he's contacting. He's on the phone with my insurance company on a Saturday afternoon. He got everything done, and it was in June, and it was in Florida in June. It's ridiculous, 150 degrees. And at night, we had 2 groups coming in here for parties, birthdays. Amongst the group, we don't close the place and have a party, but, they say, can we bring 15 people? Or, yeah, and a cake, yeah, sure. And they sing happy birthday. So it's getting around 5 o'clock. Loretta gets in here, the other people get in here, and the place, there's no furniture in here. And the floor is now cement, damp cement, all over, damp cement floor. And it's very hot. And why is it so hot in here? Well, that was the day the air conditioning went out. So I called him up and he said, well, not till Monday. I said, please come tomorrow, come Sunday. He said, you know what it's going to cost you? I said, just do it. So Saturday night, there was no air conditioning. And this is all true. I mean, this is the nightmare that we've had. And the place is cement and wet and huge fans blowing. And so I got Danny and Cody to start putting furniture back in here because now the floor is just cement. And they put chairs and tables back. And at 6 o'clock, we opened the doors. It had to be 110 in here with humidity that would, just... And the remarkable thing is, this is either a miracle from God or just people's naivete. Nobody said a word about anything. The place was packed. It was Saturday night. And there's no carpet. It's cement floor, and the fans are blowing, and it's hot as blazes in here. And nobody said a word. We had the doors open, both doors, and nobody said a thing about where's the floor or why is it so hot. We had 2 birthday parties, and everything went on as can be. The next day, the guy came and fixed the air conditioner, and the bill for where did the water come from? Well, in that bathroom, this is why the landlord situation came up. Under the bathroom, there's a water thing that turns it on and off. Well, it was on as it should be, but for some reason, clear water was coming out of the toilet all night. And so that's why I said to the landlord, that's structural. That's pretty much your problem. He said, au contraire. He said, it's not. He said, however, I understand your situation and I'll help you. He's that good a guy. He didn't have to do anything. It's in my lease. So it turned out to be $36,000 for the whole day. And the insurance covered all but, all but six or 9,000, something like that. And he kicked in half of that. So if it was 6,000 from me, he put 3,300 in, which he didn't have to do, but he put 3,300 in, I put 3,300 in, and that was the end of the problem. And then, of course, I had to put a floor down, and they told me the counter is no good because water got on the bottom, but I don't care. I'm going to leave it till it crumbles, and it's still fine. So that was the story of the air conditioner and the flood, and a good landlord. A good landlord. I could have paid the whole $6,600, but he said he'll pay half. I think partly because he realized it was his fault. Not his fault, but the building's fault. Not that anybody could have foreseen it. It was just a freak thing. Whatever happened, happened. So that's the story of that. So if you get a good landlord, good. If you get a bad one, I swear you should not sign a lease. There's other places. There's always, but this is the perfect place. No, there's other places. But this one is absolute. There's 2 Italian restaurants, a movie theater, the traffic light, there's other places. Because a bad landlord is going to be a problem all the time. All the time. You want somebody you can talk to, somebody you can, text. Look, we had last week the drain pipe on the outside of the building. It's actually 2 pieces connected by a metal strap. And Loretta called me, and she said, Mr. Jeff, the drain pipe fell off. That's her definition. So I said, take a picture. She couldn't. So I came over here, and the strap had broken. It connects the top piece to the bottom piece that shoots the water out. So I texted a picture to George, and the next morning it was fine. So, he's a good guy. Of course, he's used to this. He owns 15 Subway restaurants. or 17 Subway restaurants. He owns them. You know, it's pretty good. So he has to deal with stuff every day. Oh, I can't come in today. You know, he's got that every day. Anyway, so that's landlords and leases. Having a lawyer look it over, they don't know any more than you do as far as a lease. And they're not going to be able to change it because a lease is a lease is a lease. So, and he's not going to charge you $50, you know, to read a lease. He's going to charge you $250 to answer the phone. So I'd rather spend that on a survey guy who'll tell you what's wrong with the place. And those three are the only issues. And electrical's not really an issue because you can test the outlets yourself. You can buy that thing that lights up when you plug it in, and that'll tell you if at least they're working. But plumbing and air conditioning, that's kind of, air conditioning's the number one, wherever you are. Unless you're in Minnesota, then you're okay. But here, it gets really hot. And I know I should change those filters more. Damn. And I even put a sign on each of the air conditioning doors when to do it. And I don't know. All right.